The Big East bounced back last season and sent 5 teams to the NCAA tournament, but all 5 were sent home in the first weekend. But this season, everything seems different with the Big East looking to compete for it all once again. And with college basketball tipping off here soon, we're ranking every team in the Big East ahead of the upcoming season. But before we jump into our rankings, if you enjoy the content, please consider dropping a like on the video and subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. And now, let's jump into it. And starting off our rankings at number 11 is Seton Hall, who enters the season in full rebuild mode under Shaheen Holloway. And last season was rough, as it was a 25-loss campaign highlighted by the Big East's second worst defense and the worst high-major offense in all of college basketball. And after losing key players like Isaiah Coleman, the Pirates leaned heavily on the transfer portal, adding guards Bud Clark, TJ Simpkins, and AJ Staten-McRae, and forward Elijah Fisher. Clark is from Merrimack and is an undersized but dynamic point guard who can elevate everyone around him, while Simpkins and Staten-McRae provide good size and scoring on the wings. And with all of the newcomers this year, Seton Hall's firepower is up, but the roster still just does not meet the talent level of other programs in the Big East, and it's looking like another uphill climb for Shaheen Holloway and the Pirates. At number 10 is DePaul, who is coming into the season with a returning core of Layden Blocker, CJ Gunn, and NJ Benson, which should give Chris Holtman a solid foundation to start with. But the Blue Demons also brought in some new pieces in Tulane transfer Caleb Banks, who is an athletic, skilled forward that upgrades their front court, and RJ Smith from Colorado, who joins the backcourt and gives the squad more versatility and high major talent. And last season, DePaul was still building, but this season they have even more high major talent and experience, and the roster is trending upward. And although defensive questions remain, the athleticism and depth across positions should help this team. But Blocker is my X factor for the Blue Demons and someone that is rapidly improving and should have a huge jump this season. And although I still have them near the bottom of the conference, this DePaul team should be capable of a few upsets in the Big East. And coming in at number 9, I have Xavier, who heads into the 2026 season under new head coach Richard Pitino. And the Musketeers lost a lot in the offseason, with Sean Miller heading to Texas, Zach Freemantle leaving for the NBA, and Ryan Conwell and Dalen Swain entering the transfer portal, but Pitino brought in a lot of intriguing mid-major talent of his own. The frontcourt features great size, with Filip Borovichyn, a 6'9" versatile wing who followed Pitino from New Mexico, Trey Carroll, a 6'7" forward from FAU, and Anthony Robinson, who is an explosive 6'10" center from Virginia who I think could emerge as a breakout star. And in the backcourt, Montana transfer Malik Moore is a name to watch who could deliver nightly double-figure scoring, while returning Musketeer Roddy Anderson and Valpo transfer All Right will split the playmaking duties. But this is by far Xavier's worst roster on paper in years, and although I think Pitino was a great hire, I'm not expecting major returns in year 1. Butler comes in at number 8 with a roster that might not immediately pop, but under Thad Matta's system, there's definitely some potential. Finley Bizjack returns as a sharpshooter on the wing and will be paired with Fort Wayne transfer Jalen Jackson in the backcourt, who is a dynamic driver that likes to attack the rim. Drexel transfer Yame Butler adds versatility with 3-point range and some slashing ability, while transfer bigman Johan Traore and Drayton Jones should provide good depth in the front court. But the key for this Bulldog squad is Michael Ajayi, and Ajayi was a standout at Pepperdine a few years ago, but his time at Gonzaga didn't go as planned. And in my opinion, Butler's NCAA tournament hopes somewhat rely on him reviving his career and being the player he once was, and he definitely has the opportunity to do that here. And with the middle tier of the Big East being wide open this season, Butler definitely has the potential to be a top 5 team in the league. I have Villanova coming in at number 7 and Kevin Willard's first season with the program, as the Wildcats look destined for a middle of the Big East finish to me. Now, guard play is definitely this team's strength, as Willard brought in former Kentucky Wildcat Devin Askew to initiate the offense alongside one of the top freshmen in all of the Big East in Caden Lewis. They also brought in transfers like Bryce Lindsey, Tyler Perkins, and Zion Stanford to provide a mix of shooting and offensive versatility, and with their size and depth at guard, I wouldn't be surprised to see Willard play some 4-guard lineups alongside Grand Canyon transfer big Duke Brennan. And on paper, the frontcourt is one of the weakest in all of the Big East, and Villanova missing out on portal stars like Rodney Rice definitely caps their ceiling, but Caden Lewis could break out and be the Big East Freshman of the Year in my opinion, but there's just a wide array of outcomes for the Wildcats this season, and an NCAA tournament bid just doesn't seem likely. And coming in at number 6 is Georgetown, who enters year 3 of Ed Cooley's rebuild and looks to have more size and athleticism on the roster this season. The guard trio of Malik Mack, Arizona transfer KJ Lewis, and Baylor transfer Langston Love should form one of the best backcourts in the entire Big East, and to me, KJ Lewis is key as he is capable of wreaking havoc on both ends of the floor, while Mack and Love should provide some scoring and playmaking help. Now, the front court is definitely less proven, and the loss of Thomas Sorbert to the NBA changes the ceiling of this team as much as any player in college basketball. But St. John's transfer Vince Achukwu has the physical tools to dominate, but he has to put it all together, while returner Caleb Williams and UConn transfer Isaiah Abraham also have a lot of potential, but consistency remains the question for this team. But with their improved roster, I think the Hoyas will flirt with an NCAA tournament bid, and Ed Cooley will show that next step in the Georgetown rebuild. At number 5 is the Marquette Golden Eagles, who are staying true to Shaka Smart's philosophy of internal development as they did not bring in a single transfer, despite losing All-American Cam Jones along with David Joplin and Stevie Mitchell. Returning guards Chase Ross, Sean Jones, and Zayd Lowry are positioned to have to step up, with Ross expected to be the biggest benefactor with even more usage coming his way, and it looks like Marquette will continue to run the 5-out offense as forwards Royce Parham and Ben Gold stretch the floor and have to be guarded on the perimeter, which should open up space and create lanes for drives to the rim. But my biggest hesitancy with this team is the interior defense, which may struggle, but Shaka Smart is known for having a defense-first mindset which keeps them dangerous, and although a lot of high-level talent walked out that door, would it really surprise anyone if Marquette was on the right side of the bubble and in the NCAA tournament once again? Providence comes in at number 4 and looks poised for a bounce-back season under Kim English with a roster that's loaded with offensive potential. The Friars added Florida State transfer Daquan Davis, Vanderbilt transfer Jason Edwards, and UCF transfer Jalen Sellers, giving them 3 players who can create their own offense and average double figures on a nightly basis. Edwards is a proven scorer from one of the toughest leagues in the SEC, and Sellers is a bigger guard who's a threat in transition and can get to the free throw line at will. Duncan Powell is another high major transfer who adds front court versatility as a 3-and-D wing, while Oswin Arumse returns after leading the Big East in block rate as a freshman. And it looks like Kim English addressed the Friars' needs in the offseason, and this year, Providence might have one of the best rosters in the Big East, which is why I have them in the top 4 of my league predictions. But the biggest question will be if all of the new individual pieces actually fit well together. Coming in at number 3, I have the Creighton Blue Jays, who for the first time in 5 years begin a season without Ryan Kalkbrenner, and the Blue Jays' defensive identity will look very different, but offensively, this team still has a ton of firepower and could be one of the best offenses in the country. Iowa transfer Josh Dix is a polished 3-level scorer who should thrive in McDermott's free-flowing system, while fellow Hawkeye transfer Owen Freeman could be one of the Big East's breakout stars. Freeman is a skilled post scorer with legit versatility and is capable of leading the league in points, but Charlotte transfer Nick Graves and Howard transfer Blake Harper could be the biggest X factors for this team. And with shooters like Jackson McAndrew and Austin Swartz spacing the floor, Creighton's offense should rank among the nation's elite. But the biggest question will be how well they can defend, and without Kalkbrenner's rim protection, Creighton could struggle to get stops, but the offense alone should keep them safely in the NCAA tournament mix. And at number 2 is St. John's, who looks absolutely loaded heading into the year, and Rick Pitino might finally have the perfect roster to match his style of play. The Red Storm's combination of size, athleticism, and tempo is terrifying, and I expect them to dominate the glass and crush teams in transition. The trio of Dylan Mitchell, Bryce Hopkins, and Zuby Ejiofor will feast on rebounds and second chance points, while transfers Ian Jackson, Josan Seton, and Oziah Sellers add shot making and a scoring punch on the wings. And Hopkins is the biggest swing player on the roster for me, because if he is healthy and returns to form, he's a matchup nightmare who can create offense from nearly anywhere on the floor. And my only real concern for this team is their point guard play, but if the reigning Big Sky Player of the Year Dylan Darling can steady the backcourt, this team's ceiling skyrockets, and with the amount of talent this team has and who their head coach is, it feels like it's almost impossible for them to fail. But coming in at the number 1 spot and just barely edging out St. John's is Dan Hurley and the UConn Huskies, and after a down year by Hurley standards, UConn is reloaded and looks ready to reclaim its spot atop college basketball. The Huskies' starting lineup is absolutely stacked. Silas Demery Jr. is a jumbo playmaker from Georgia who brings size and shooting to pair with solo ball and 5-star freshman Braylon Mullins, who can both light it up from deep. Add in Alex Caravan, who is a 2-time national champion and one of the nation's best stretch forwards, and Taurus Reed, who is a double-double machine inside, and this offense looks absolutely unstoppable. Off the bench, the Huskies have returners Jalen Stewart and Jaden Ross to help anchor a deep rotation, and both will provide valuable minutes, along with Dayton transfer Malachi Smith. And don't forget about 7-foot, 4-star freshman Eric Ryby, who could play a key role in the front court as well. And UConn's offense projects as top 10 nationally, and if the defense holds steady, another deep March run feels inevitable, and the Huskies could win their 3rd national title in the last 4 seasons. And as always, I wanted to quickly go over my preseason predictions for the Big East Awards, and for Player of the Year, I have Zuby Ejiofor from St. John's, as he is set to dominate both ends of the floor for the Johnnies this season, and after a breakout year, he's evolved into one of college basketball's most dominant interior forces. He ranked 3rd in the Big East in offensive rebounding percentage last season, and his blend of power, agility, and touch around the rim makes him a matchup nightmare. His defensive versatility and relentless energy fit perfectly in Rick Pitino's system, and his ability to live at the free throw line adds easy points to his stats sheet, and I expect Ejiofor to anchor a top-tier defense while putting up All-American caliber numbers as the Red Storm chase Big East glory. For Freshman of the Year, I have Braylon Mullins from UConn, and Mullins enters stores as the next elite Husky freshman shooter tailor-made for Dan Hurley's system. A 5-star wing with limitless range, Mullins stretches defenses the moment he crosses half court, but what makes him truly special is his versatility, as he's not just a shooter. He can attack closeouts, finish above the rim, and make smart reads as a secondary playmaker, and if he consistently punishes defenders who overplay the 3, he could quickly become one of the most impactful freshmen in the nation, and I expect Mullins to shine in Hurley's high-tempo, spacing-heavy offense and make an immediate splash in the league. And for Newcomer of the Year, I have Jason Edwards from Providence, as Providence struck gold in the transfer portal with Edwards, who is a proven high major scorer ready to ignite the Friars offense. After earning 3rd team All-SEC honors at Vanderbilt last season, Edwards brings elite shot creation, deep shooting range, and the confidence to take over games, and his pairing with Jalen Sellers gives Kim English one of the most dynamic backcourt in the conference, and Edwards' leadership and scoring consistency should elevate Providence from a rebuilding team to a legitimate Big East contender in my opinion, and I expect him to fill up the scoreboard and energize Friar fans all season long. For Defensive Player of the Year, I got Chase Ross from Marquette, and Chase Ross is just the definition of a defensive disruptor. His athleticism, instincts, and motor allow him to lock down multiple positions while forcing turnovers at an elite rate. And as Marquette transfers into a new era post-Cam Jones, Ross's defensive energy will be their heartbeat, and he thrives in Shaka Smart's switch-heavy, pressure-oriented scheme, jumping passing lanes, rotating with precision, and setting the tone with relentless effort. And Ross's ability to guard anyone on the perimeter while generating fast break opportunities makes him one of the most valuable two-way players in the Big East. And for Coach of the Year, I have Dan Hurley from UConn, and after falling just short of a three-peat, Hurley is reloading for another run to the top. With 5 key returners, a 5-star freshman in Braylon Mullins, and Georgia transfer Silas Demery Jr., Hurley reassembled a roster that's built for dominance, and UConn's offense should be among the nation's most efficient, and even modest defensive improvement could make the Huskies a national title favorite once again. And Hurley's fiery leadership and tactical brilliance have turned UConn into the gold standard of modern college basketball, and I don't think Hurley's reign is over just yet. And that wraps it up for today's video. Let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are on my preseason Big East rankings. Was there a team that I ranked way too high or way too low? Also, let me know what conference you'd like me to do next. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, and make sure and stay tuned for more college basketball content. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.